the World War II
Historian
generation.
Frances Hensley is
And
Senior
the
Vice
word's been
President
known
of
for
Academic
over 60
Affairs
years.
and Dean of Undergraduate Studies at Marshall University. Nearly 70 years after the bombing of Pearl Harbor ushered America into the Second World War, Hensley says it's important for students to connect with the women who sacrificed their youth to defend America, embodied by the federal government in the bold yet feminine form of Rosie the Riveter.
Not everyone was a riveter, not everyone was a welder. Women worked in many different capacities during World War II, capacities that they had not traditionally been allowed to work in before the war.
With every man utilized, we are still short millions of hands. We must call upon women. They discover that factory work is usually no more difficult than housework. Employers find that women can do many jobs as well as men, some jobs better. They undertake every form of shop work, even invading such fields as welding, hitherto reserved for men.
And the idea was that women would sacrifice their time at home, their time with their children, what was considered then to be what their traditional role was, and give to the war effort with their labor. But certainly it was not anticipated that this would become a permanent feature of American life.
Maisie Mullins and her 12 siblings grew up farming in Nicholas County during the harsh economic times of the Great Depression.
We was taught to work from small child up. We had to go out in the fields and pull weeds around corn till my older brothers and sisters could go ahead and hoe and make it quicker for them. And then when I turned 18, I went to Akron, Ohio to get this job that I was told about.
During the war, Mullins riveted the wings of Marauder and Super Fortress aircraft.
I really took interest in it. What I was doing was going to help those servicemen, the ones who was over there fighting, and help maybe save somebody's life. And I could just see that my work with everybody else's was really going somewhere. And our foreman come around and he praised us for our work. He said, I tell you, he said, this war material wouldn't get out of Plant C if it wasn't for the women from Kentucky and West Virginia.
I think during the war, people were always conflicted about Rosie. How do you invite Rosie to be a riveter and yet not disrupt anything else about the society? And that's not possible. I think that was the challenge, and that's what emerged as the change that would take place gradually after the war.
To commemorate Women's History Month, Marshall University hosted a forum that included several Rosies earlier this month.
It is amazing that these women are here, and I'm so glad that there are so many of you here to welcome them and to hear their stories. The stories of women's achievements are integral to the weaving of our historic tapestry. And hearing how these women of World War II lived, how they worked and survived, how they played, how they danced, how they had a good time, to hear that story is fun, it's amazing, but it is also necessary. It is necessary for us to know what they did to help win that war.
My biggest fear was the big city. I was raised in Logan County in the coal camp. But then when I was 18, I went in Ford Motor Plant at Highland Park, Detroit, and riveted on the B-24s. It was an experience that I'll never forget. The rivet guns are heavy, and I think I was about 136 pounds, and it was hard work.
There was many girls at work that didn't tie their hair up securely. Many of them got their hair pulled out by a drill. We learned very hard lessons at work.
There's 35,000 that said worked her 3 shifts around the clock at 5 plants, A, B, C, D, and E. When the war was ended, about the time we used to go out and eat dinner, or here they announced, the war's ended, the war's ended, lay down your tools, come back tomorrow, check in your tools, and turn in your badges. And so that was the end of my work there.
Well, I was happy to go home. They gave me a choice. I could have joined the Navy, but it was time to go home. It's like everybody else. The boys needed their jobs back.
If they could come home to a economically sound situation, especially with a man they loved, of course they wanted to get back to a normal life. But some African American women in other parts of the country. Their husbands weren't guaranteed the same kinds of jobs that the Caucasian men were.
These women here tonight, their history is our strength because we build on what they did. We learned about dedication, patriotism, and courage from them. We stand here today a better, stronger country because of them. And as women, we stand taller because of their efforts.
For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Suzanne Higgins.